This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. I'm kind of pumped up today. After the show, I'm headed to Mountain Home, Arkansas, to pick up the new Bass Cat. We're going with the Puma STS this time. Right now, it's currently at the Bass Tank getting unrigged. Something I feel like that's one of the few things I could do to my own vessel without messing something up on it is unrig a boat. Let's bring our guest in right off the hopper today. I'm not sure. It's the Birdman, Kurt Dove, fresh off a third place finish in the One Bass Lake Havasu Open there in Havasu, Arizona. What's up, Kurt?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I would imagine
from the west side.
I would imagine, and this may be this may be a tad crude, but it was the first thing that came to my mind. There's nothing better than a weekend where you get to catch big bass, win money, and get to see the scenery at Lake Havasu in the middle of May. Is that a fair assessment? I mean, that's a win, right?
Absolutely. And we did all three of those. We did all three. After the tournament was over, we spent an afternoon on the lake with my niece and her husband, Rhonda, my wife and I did. And we hung out in the channel right there at the London Bridge. And let me tell you what, it is going down in the channel. It is going down in the channel.
The amount of money and perfectly tad, skid-toed human beings in that section of the country is mind-blowing.
It's mind-boggling. The boats are crazy. They're so loud. They're just, the money goes through there, just parade. It's just like a parade. It's like when you were, for us 50-year-old folks, when we grew up, they used to, in the small towns, they used to do the, the drive around on Fridays and Saturday nights.
Oh yeah. No, I did that in Decatur, Illinois, down Elba.
Yeah.
We would go to the snow cone shop.
Exactly, man. There'd be a couple stops along the way. Maybe you stop at the local McDonald's or like you said, the snow cone shop or something. But everyone's just kind of driving around, and you kind of re-meet up at all these places and talk about stuff that happened in between each one. But anyway, that's exactly what's going on in the channel.
Except it's with $1 million boats and no clothing.
That's exactly right. And lots of alcohol. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's Lake Havasu is a very cool place from a bass fishing perspective, not only the visiting perspective like we've been talking about, but man, it is just a really neat lake. It's got everything, from the river to deep offshore grass to, shallow wood cover when the water's up and flipping tules and stuff like that. It's probably one of the so there's a lot of lakes out west that I'm learning more and more that are so versatile. It's a lot of fun to fish out there for sure.
We'll get back to that. When I brought you in though, I was saying I've known you a long time, but are you a mechanically inclined dude to where if someone was like, hey, put this graph on your boat or mount this trolling motor, are you capable of that? Or are you one of the guys who lets someone who knows what they're doing put it on?
So I want to invite a friend. I want to invite a friend. Now I think that I can do it, but I need the committed reassurance. Yeah, that's right. But at the same time, I want to dig my own hands in there. I want to make sure all my cables are straight. I want to zip tie up or tape up everything so that when something does go, I know exactly how to get in there, what to do, what to look at. But I need to phone a friend. I need a buddy with me just to,
confirm,
reconfirm, recommit that we're we're on the right path right here.
Have you ever rigged your own boat?
Yeah, I've done
Oh,
several.
yeah, no, you're so many steps ahead of me then it's not even funny.
So you talk about unrigging and
yeah,
awesome that you're running the STS thing. Did you run the Puma this past year?
No, Cougar.
Oh, you ran the Cougar. Well,
yeah, I ran a Cougar.
I gotta say so all the listeners know I'm running a Puma STS, and I got mine in mid-January, and I haven't really done any videos or anything on it because this is my first Bass Cat. I wanted to really
you're a Bass Cat dude.
Yeah, I wanted to wait and kind of get the vibe. Anybody can just go through a new boat like, oh yeah, it's got compartments, it's got this. Well, I'm ready now. I fished 3 events out of it and lots of guide trips, and I gotta say, I love that Puma STS. It is an awesome.
How much have you won out of it this year? So you top,
I don't know, maybe like 16, 17.
You top 10 Clear Lake. So one of the reasons you're on regularly on BTL, but
one bass. I've been on in a while. It's been a while, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you're catching them, Birdman. So one bass, Western Outdoor News, WONBASS, very familiar, synonymous with the history of the U.S. Open. We've had Billy Egan, the tournament director, the man who makes things happen, on BTL before, but this was like a new series that they unveiled in 2024, which was a 5 tournament series that spanned some of the most historic fisheries on the western side of the United States.
Absolutely. I think the only one that's probably not included in this year's and next year's schedule, Billy Egan's already announced 2025 schedule, which is really cool, is the Delta. But you got Shasta, Clear Lake, Lake Havasu, Lake Mead, and Lake Mojave. Those are the 5 events for 2024, and will be the 5 events for 2025.
And so they have an Angler of the Year that goes along with all that. And is the U.S. Open included in the Angler of the Year points? It's not like a deal where you fish to get to the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is part of it.
That's correct.
And then they have an Angler of the Year. And then at each event, the top 5 qualifying anglers. And the cool thing is he goes down the list. If there's double qualifiers or people that want to turn it down, get an automatic invite into the 2025 Bass Nation National Championship, provides an avenue for the West Coast to get directly to the Bass Nation Championship, which is now a 250 boat tournament. You skip the 4 regionals to get there. So you have your ticket punched based on, where'd you finish? 6th at the Delta?
So I finished 6th at Clear Lake.
Lake.
And Ish Monroe finished 3rd, I believe. And he is not a Bass Nation member. Of course, he's a Bass member.
Yeah, he could. I don't understand why he didn't want to fish that. Like, he's trying to get back there. He literally has to go to Grant.
I had a couple people ask me.
It doesn't make sense to me. That like be a below-ish to jump in the Bass Nation?
Knowing Ish, which I don't know him very well. Talked to him a few times, interviewed him a few times, on my podcast, Bass Edge Radio. But Ish understands the difference between, him competing in some local regional events versus him competing in the Opens, EQs, or MLF BBT, or the Elite Series. And he is a full-time, legit angler. He's got no job but fishing and promoting. And so I think that respectfully and thankfully, and, he gets the process, right? That process is more for guys like me, guys like you. We got jobs, we've got jobs. We don't fish and promote exclusively. We're not 300 days on the water a year, that kind of thing. So I believe that's my opinion on why Ish chose not to take the Bass Nation.
Okay. Good on
route him. In that. Yeah, I agree. Good on him. And it benefited me. I was actually really happy at Havasu that I finished 3rd, because then I didn't get the bonus spot, right? Because Ish didn't want to go.
Yeah,
I qualified
legit, and then you actually got someone in the 6th because you've already had qualified. Someone else got to go.
Exactly. Another angler got to jump in. So Juan Bass, in this partnership with BASS, has really expanded their media coverage, the way that they put on these events, as you mentioned, this 5-event series, and the historicalness of the fisheries, and the fact that California's got water. They've had water for the last couple of years. That's what drove me to get out there and go bassing at the for the Juan Bass this year. Not only the fact that I actually live about 40 miles by dead center of the United States on the west side. A lot of people don't know that, but I live about 40 miles on the west side of the United States. So geographically, the West is not so crazy for me.
Makes just as much sense for you to go west as it does to go out to Alabama and Florida and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I've highlighted this tournament trail. I love talking about the West Coast and the anglers out there. We had Austin on after he won on Clear Lake. That was a really cool interview. Really easy to root for that guy. Yeah. And the path that he's taken. But I'm confused about one thing before we get into this. So I'm looking at the Angler of the Year here. So you're what, 3 events in with 2 left, right?
That's correct.
You have a 6th and a 3rd. How the heck are you like almost 100 points out of the Angler of the, like, how is that even possible, Kurt?
So in all transparency, I'm not sure how the points work. I never really looked because it just wasn't my focus, right? It wasn't my focus to understand that process. So I'm not sure exactly how the points status works throughout the Juan Bass system and what gains points, because you have different field sizes. Like at Lake Shasta, for example, we had 154 anglers, I believe. Yep. At Clear Lake, we had 177. At Havasu, we had 121.
Those are strong numbers for the West.
Let me tell you, those are the strongest group numbers the West has had in probably, I'm gonna throw out 15 years. 15 years that the anglers have come together and decided, and I say come together, that Bill Egan has built what he's built there with Juan Bass, expanded it, that the anglers are following. It's super cool. And like I said, he's up the media. Like when the weigh-in's over, you don't wait 2 hours to get the results. It's like immediately, you know what the results are, you know what's going on. He's got the live on YouTube. Everybody can watch the live weigh-in. You know, the website is really nice and fairly easy to follow. So they've done a great job. And that's also what makes anglers want to fish those types of trails, because if you do well, you get good media. He's doing a great job with Instagram. If you haven't checked the Juan Bass Instagram, he goes over the baits that the top 5 guys are using for the or you know anglers are using for that particular event, and he's really putting out there the knowledge, the learning experience for the viewers as well as the entertainment. So it's a great format to fish at this point.
Did you get any of the Havasu like merch? So they're doing merch for each event, which is totally badass. I'll pull it up here in a second. Like, have you gotten your hands on any of this? Any of this high caliber?
I got the Shasta merch. I got the Shasta merch. I did not get the Havasu shirt yet. I probably should get, and I'd have.
Oh, you gotta get one. Like these are freaking killer tees.
Nice stuff. Yeah, it's nice stuff. So,
and I don't get paid or anything for this. This is just
see the one right there at the bottom, the Mount Shasta one. I love that one. Of course, he launches these shirts at each event. They're not just, you know, like obviously he hasn't launched the Mead shirt yet. He hasn't launched the Mojave shirt yet.
I gotta get a Mead one.
So yeah, it's dude, I mean, I'm telling you, they're doing a great job. It's a lot of fun to fish out there. The reason to go back and tell you talked about the AOY standards.
Yeah.
Man, there is a core group of anglers out there that they could go anywhere. And obviously the West Coast has brought some of the best, most intriguing anglers to the BBT, the Elite Series, the National Touring bass fishing world. And there's more there ready to come. Some of them aren't interested to come at this moment. But, you know, the Joe Uribes, I don't care where that guy goes. He
wins.
Dude wins and he catches them. And catches them. He's a Phoenix guy. more or less. But he goes to NorCal. There's Kyle Grover. He's part of a dealership in southern, like I guess like mid Southern California. I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but yeah, he wins too. He just doesn't win. These guys finish in the top 10 like all the time. Roy Hawk, he was in the top. He's in the top 5 right now. Not fishing the BBT this year, it makes him exceptionally scary in any West Coast event because he's home all the time. It used to be not maybe as bad over the last few years because he was away a lot. And even when he was away, he still won a U.S. Open a couple years ago on Mead, one of the last one that was held there. But
yeah, a lot of
the bottom line is I'm in 6th place with 2 top 10s because those other guys and the guys just below me, they are catching them everywhere they go, just like Chris Jones says on Major League Fishing. But those, they're just legit, man. They are better than legit.
And what was your decision? What was your decision to go out there and not do the Opens or the Toyotas? Like, are you the farthest traveling angler? Is there anyone else from east of you who is fishing all of these?
Not that I'm aware. No. There's one or two guys from Colorado, maybe that have fished all 3 up to this point. But what drove me to fish these events is, number one, I thought the fishing would be exceptional because California got water 2 years ago, and they've continued to get water in the lakes. And when water's up, fishing's good in general. It's the same here at Lake Amistad at my house. When the water's up, the fishing's good. And it doesn't mean it's terrible when it's down. It's just really freaking good when it's up. So I thought the fishing would be really good, and it has been. I had a 32-pound sack at Clear Lake. For those that don't know.
Oh, how did that come about? We got to talk about that one because let me see if I can pull the text up or something. I said something about like decent start, and then I said like 30. Did I say a 40 bagger or a 35 bagger tomorrow or something? And you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll get right on that. It ain't easy, bro." Like, you totally dismissive, and then you come in with that sack. But I never talked to you about like how the 30+ pound bag actually came about.
So Clear Lake, the weather was iffy going into the event. You had a lot of ups and downs in weather. So the fish kind of moved up, then they moved back, and I opted into a pre-spawn pattern I felt like that was my best chance. And fortunately, I had seen some areas where some fish had come up. And so day 2, after you had texted me day 1, and I think I had like mid 19-pound bag.
Yeah, you had a decent sack.
Yeah, and I was in like 58th. It was something like that. I was in the mid 50s with almost a 20-pound bag. And I was like, oh geez, I'm about to get it handed to me. And day 2, even catching them pretty good. You catch 20-pound bag or close to it, you think, man, it's pretty good bag, but not when I think they opened up with a 34, 35-pound sack leading the tournament. So anyway, long story short is I went back day 2 as conditions continued to improve for fish to move up, and they were just flooding the bank in this area. I had seen them a couple days prior, and it was just a bait deal that led to another bait selection that led to a lot of big bites.
Can you say what it was?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. No, it's totally fine. So we were throwing. I was throwing a swim bait on the outside edge of the Tulies, and in this AAA, I know you've talked about it on the show before, Juan Bass is a shared weight format. The AAA and the Pro are essentially a team for the day, and you get different teams every day. But I had a gentleman named Chris Crawford, really nice guy. Yeah, that's the sack right there, and that's Chris in the blue hoodie right there. But Chris was a great AAA draw. He's a very good angler. What makes him good is not just he has fishing prowess, but dude, he's got a great attitude. He is very positive. And man, I opened it up doing my pre-spawn thing, 5.5 pounder on I'm a Flit 120 jerk bait, which Matt, I love that bait. And if I can catch on I'm a Flit, I'm all in.
You will throw that thing
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Then I actually scoped the 7-pounder on the edge of a Thule point and caught it on a drop shot. And then we started moving into this pattern where I was throwing a swim bait on the outside edge of Thule's, and I would work with my AAA to work the inside edge of the Thule's
Smart.
with a Cinco, the soft stick bait. And so if I saw one on the front of the boat while I'm winding the swim bait, I would tell my AAA, hey, that patch of Thule's, 12 o'clock or whatever, and he'd flip over. Well, Chris flipped over there to one. I think he was using a 5-inch bait, and he caught one. And then he flipped over to another one and caught one. And these were like 3-pound fish, really nice fish. They weren't any of them that we ended up weighing in. But then I saw a nice one, and he missed it. And he ran out of 5-inch Cincos, and he changed to a 4-inch Cinco because that's what he had left. And I didn't know this at the time, but I saw another one that was like a nice one that we weighed in, like a 5.5-pounder. And he flips it over there and he catches it. And he's like, dude, that one ate it like immediately. It sucked it in tow. And I had to switch to a 4-inch Cinco. He tells me this later. And I was like, oh my God, they want something small. I got something small. I went even further finesse.
Really?
Yes. We went up to this area where I could see them floating, and it was very difficult to get them to bite in practice. When I say floating fish, I don't mean you see them on forward-facing sonar. I mean you see them
like
with your eyes.
Steve Kennedy, where when the first Elite Series went there, you'd look at a dock and there'd be a 70-pound limit floating under the dock, just visually looking
right.
at. Yeah.
And the lake is up, so there's all this hardwood or bushes out from the vegetation that's flooded because the lake was down and all this new growth happened. This is what I heard after the fact. That's why there was so much wood in the water or bushes. It's almost like you go to Grand Lake and there's willows in the water everywhere and the water's up, right? So anyway, long story short is I put on even smaller bait, a 3-inch, and every time we saw them, I could go through them, spin around, throw back, and they'd eat it, and it was just freaking. And when you have a big day like that, I caught another 7-pounder like a couple 15, 20 minutes
on a spinning rod in bushes.
This is all on spinning rods. Most of them around bushes, some of them around docks. But yes, it was all Panger 101 spinning rod.
Spin to win. I found the text thread. This is actually pretty funny from April 17th. I said, solid start. You said, fishing kind of sucks. I said, really? It looks like a slugfest. You said, I don't know how to catch them. Just junking. They got something I don't. And understanding.
Right. That's exactly right.
I said
a lot of those fish were being caught on big swim baits.
Yeah.
And obviously in the past, I had thrown a lot of swim baits down here at Amistad when it was really, really good. But the swim bait world has changed significantly over the last 10 years. And I just haven't kept up with it as much. And these anglers are throwing the latest, greatest garage baits and some, small company manufactured baits. And they are good at what they're doing with them things. So, anyway, just not my forte.
You're still throwing a mission fish in an osprey with the lead in it that's all disintegrated.
Actually, I was talking to a new friend that I've made, Randy Pearson out there. He's talking about a LA slider. When's the last time you heard of an LA slider?
Wow. Got to be a long time ago.
20 years. Yeah. 20 years, man.
So I said 55 bags over 20 and it sucks. You said, yeah. I said, maybe you can bang out a 40 rack tomorrow. I'm talking like I'm 20 years old. You said crying face emoji. I said, what? You said, maybe. I said, just a smooth 40 bagger. No big deal. Just 5 8-pounders. You said easy. Then I said, I could sense the excitement. Tongue in cheek. You said, it's rough, bro. Yeah. Then the following day, you sent me that picture, and I'm going to say exactly what you said. You said, you're right. This shit's easy. 32.44.
That's exactly what happened. Yes. And we weren't getting a lot of bites. And I think a very few guys or anglers were getting a lot of bites, and but when you got a bite and you were throwing the right stuff, it was a big bite, and I didn't back it up with anything great. Day three, a mediocre, just under 20-pound sack, but the reason for that was a conditional change, and I've told a couple people this. I was actually more proud of my day three 20-pound bag than I was my day two 32-pound bag because of the adjustments that I had to make. I made some right adjustments to catch 32, obviously, but I made some miraculous adjustments to catch 20.
Like, what'd you do?
So I had to went down, ran my pre-spawn pattern, caught a nice one on a dock. I didn't really get anything on the jerk bait and the couple toolie patches I was, targeting there with the forward-facing sonar. And I ran back up and I was like, no problem. I'm gonna go in there with my little finesse bait, and I'm gonna crack.
That's a secret bait. You don't want to tell people what that is, do you?
It's
just a 3-inch finesse bait.
I think that it's an extreme move from a lure perspective that paid off.
Okay.
And I think
continue. You can tell me after the show. I'll badger you.
Pay off again. No, I mean it's the 3-inch Cinco deal, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't think people take it to that far extreme. The only reason I had a 3-inch Cinco, I actually had them in my rain jacket pocket, right? And it was cold every morning. I wear my rain jacket every day. But I had them in my rain jacket pocket because in the practice, like I was telling, the weather was up and down. I was trying to judge the mood of the fish on beds when they were on beds a couple days before the event started, before we had this huge cold front, and I was wacky rigging a little 3-inch.
Okay, 3-inch sorry. Back to the final day.
Yeah. So the final day, the adjustment. So Clear Lake has a lot of algae started to bloom because it was getting real warm very fast. And the wind shifted to the east from the east and started pushing in some dirty water and algae into the area where I cracked them on day two. And I was in there at like 12 o'clock. I had gotten there about 9:30, and it was about 12 o'clock. I still had 3 fish, and I just totally bailed on it. I had like 3 hours to fish, and I went sight fishing, and I just went down a couple banks and started seeing some fish and started plucking them off one by one by one by one. And
nice.
That's how I ended up with 20 pounds. Yeah. If I sight fished all day that day, I probably had mid-20s. And Ish had a giant bag day 3, a 32-pound sack, and he actually caught a 10 off a bed and several others, but he obviously knows better places to look than I do. He's been to Clear Lake a few times. So
the first one was at Shasta.
Yeah, Shasta, Highland Reservoir.
Yeah, let me show this video, and then we'll just get a quick recap of that because I don't think people understand Shasta. But like you were just like, hey, video? You're like, hey, hope you're having a better day than I did today. This was like in the tournament. I'm assuming your AAA took this video.
That's correct.
Let me watch this because I would like to hear the story on this.
Yeah, you can see it right there. So it's hailing right there. That's why the boat is completely white. It is hailing like crazy. We had like 4 or 5 squalls come in like that. That was day 3 of the event. That's that new Puma STS. I freaking love that boat. But anyway, yeah, man, it was a crazy weather scenario. Up in NorCal, they had been getting a lot of rain and continue to get a lot. I don't know about they're still getting rain, but that's why, California's so wet is, all the systems that have been coming off the ocean. There were still some, I think 7 days I was there, 4 days practice, 3 days the event, and it rained 5 out of the 7 days. It was
That's
cold
lovely.
every day, like between 35 and 50 degrees at best. And yeah, we had some crazy hail come in. I actually caught a fish and called like 30 seconds after that video.
In the hail.
It was
I guess it would have to be dropping barometric pressure if it was hailing.
Yes, I would agree. Well, I think it was just steady because it was rainy for 5 out of 7 days.
I would like those 5. Like if I went and fished that next year. That's like kind of the whole thing's kind of my jam, isn't it?
the Shasta was a lot of fun. I learned a lot the first time I'd ever been there, and they've got some monster spots. They don't catch a ton of the big ones, but they do have them available. I think there were some 6s and 7s weighed in the tournament, and that you just get a lot of bites. It's kind of like Smith Lake, Alabama, in a way. There's some possibilities to catch some giants, but you catch a lot of spotted bass.
One more thing on the West, then we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some relevant industry news. You're a guy who makes your living in the industry and fishing, have fished on every tour under the sun, fishing the MLF Selects, fish on the FLW Tour, fish the Opens, fish the Toyotas, fish the Elite Series, have qualified for everything multiple times. Very accomplished angler on the water. So, and what are you, like the North American King of Hayabusa? What is it called? What's your title?
General Manager.
General Manager.
Which is a couple rungs below the king. But I'm not. I have a king that I serve.
Okay.
So I'm a couple of rungs below.
But one more thing from the West, which this is just kind of interesting how this came about. So I came across the July 2007 issue of Bass West USA, which my first published article, which is right up there, was in Bass West USA, called Kill Switch Engaged. It was about the guy who invented the kill switch and then got Ray Scott to implement it into all the tournaments. And I also, maybe my very first one was the Grant Golbeck Freaks of the Deep with the 16-inch Upton custom poured worm on Falcon back in the day. That was a trip. You want an adventure, go to Falcon with Grant Golbeck. But I digress. So Western, I'm just perusing this magazine recently, and
something jumped out at you.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that jumped out at me was the Stratus aluminum back then for $12,995 brand new. Like, that's a pretty strong.
And that's with a motor, not oars.
Yeah, no, that's with a 60 horse on it there. And then you literally go like a page later, and it's the True Tungsten congratulates Boyd Duckett on his Bassmaster Classic victory.
Lay Lake, yeah.
Plus the True Tungsten, remember that? That was a big deal. That was such a trendy company.
King Kong
back in the day.
Tungsten world. Yes.
Yeah. Everything in here is like True Tungsten.
I still have a pack or two of the.
Oh, dude, I've got the True Tungsten bluegill and trout still, with the little beads in it.
Yeah. I have one of those swim baits. Yes.
Have you ever used it?
I think I've thrown it a couple times here at Amistad back in the day. We threw it over bluegill beds. Yeah.
All right. Next page. I got to do a Where Are They Now interview with Gabe Bolivar.
Oh, nice.
What the heck happened to Gabe Bolivar?
Gabe, he won. No, his brother won the cup. He was $1 million winner.
No, that's Bennett.
Oh. Bennett.
This is Gabe Bolivar. Remember, he was in the Ranger. He had the accident. Like, he got hurt. I think he had something. He had like an accident in the boat, but he was on pace with Cody Meyer, Brent Ayler, Michael Bennett, that whole group of young, like kind of West Coast guys that were the next second coming of the FLW Tour.
Yes. Because that was back when they had the Western Series and they had, East meets West. They had all kinds of cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
Money was flowing.
This was this is one of the ones you were talking about. You probably remember the California Swim Babes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but look at this article right here. In 2007, the Bass Zone with Mark Jeffries, the yellow and black, the old school, the tough book, and it's all about Jeffries doing live coverage from the water.
That is classic.
Let me read a line in here. He's 44 years old, which is scary because I remember when I first started working for him, I was like, this guy's pretty intense and I'm not sure he enjoys life very much. Like, he was very like, rah, when he was 44. And I'm like not that far off from that. Jeffries is a 44-year-old founder of the website that specializes in on-location coverage of professional bass fishing. Jeffries and his friends, Drew Smith, Brent Conway, and University of Oklahoma communications intern Matt Pangrak spend hours serving fishing fans. Blah, blah, blah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's where it all began.
There he is, like in the boat. He had the merch, the whole 9 yards, like I'm doing now. Here he is interviewing a young Brent Ehrler in a Snickers jersey.
Wow.
Anyway.
Chevy logo on there when Chevy was big with FLW.
Yeah, so when I first met him, he had a yellow, like canary yellow wrapped Chevy Avalanche. It was obscene, Kurt. Like this thing was like where I grew up, we had the chicken car, and it was for a place called Kreckles, and they literally like molded this chicken front onto like a Cadillac and then put a tail on it and then painted it like a rooster. It was like the famous car around town. That was Norman, Oklahoma's version of the chicken car, was Jeffrey's gaudy wrapped Chevy out, because this is before wraps were like a thing, right? So when you saw it,
multi-pieces.
It was a showstopper.
Yeah. Well, Hallman ran the OG Bass Zone boat wrap. I think even Hallman was running the Bass Zone wrap in the 07 season. That was when Jeffries went all in. He
did not have a sponsor, and he was from Norman, Oklahoma, and Jeffrey said, well, I'll wrap it for you, and that way you can fish. And I don't think he paid Hallman anything. I think his payment was the wrap, so he would, which is vintage Jeffries, which would be like how he got the wrap. But I mean, he's like I said,
extra media exposure. Did they have the Hallman files or anything?
Yeah, we did like articles, because I remember my first article was with Sean Goodwin.
Okay.
About a crankbait deal, and then my next like 6 articles were the sophomore season with Brad Hallman.
There you go. I remember there was a series of some type.
Yeah, so. This magazine is introducing everybody to a new frontier and finesse.
Wacky Jighead.
Yeah, I remember that the actual Flick Shake had just come out, and we went to Beaver Lake for a college tournament in 2007, because that's when it first came out.
Right.
And caught the crap out of spotted bass on them.
Very fun. Still very effective technique. Not used mainstream.
Yeah. Well, I'm showing pictures, and I'm not even.
To 3-inch. I saw somebody in the chat talk about the 3-inch Senko. They were saying
that it's a Western, a West Coast.
Western guy's been on the 3-inch, said Clay. Yeah.
So I'm going to show this. I did not get clearance for this, but I've gotten asked. I sent a message to him and I said, dude, if I had a nickel for every time people ask, what are you up to? I made contact with Brad, and listen, Brad's living his best life. Just took the kids to the Zach Bryan concert. There's Brad.
Nice.
There's Grayson.
Yeah.
Freaking living their best lives.
Looking like the cowboy.
Yep. Hitting it out, spending time with the kids. Brad's happy, looking forward to Sooner football season in the SEC, and A-okay. So there's your Brad Hallman update for all those who have been asking, which is a lot of people. I mean, dude, he made like a big impact over those years when he tried to qualify and then got in.
Absolutely.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's dive into some industry stuff. It is BTL on a Tuesday with the Birdman.
What up?
Kurt Dove will be back right after.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Gamakatsu, the innovation leader in fish hooks, is launching Nano Alpha technology in 2024. Nano Alpha is a new finish available on Gamakatsu's most popular hook styles. It delivers 2 times slicker performance, 4 times better corrosion resistance. Nano Alpha technology makes the world's greatest fish hooks even better in 2024 to help anglers catch more fish.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top 100, Strike King.
It's definitely a lot colder today.
Man, I really need to make this cut. I need to make up points quick.
Positive mental attitude.
I hope they stay where I found them.
Are they even pulling water?
Too far. I hope nobody else.
Man, it's too windy.
The water's too high.
Avco, keeping you comfortable on the outside, no matter how you're feeling on the inside.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday, talking with Kurt Dove. Before the break, I listed a few of your accomplishments, job titles, etc. So we get like a double dip here. We get like the angler, the high achieving angler, and an industry perspective.
All kinds of stuff going on.
Let's first talk about, and I talked a little bit about this with Milliken yesterday during the show. He's very integral with the 6th Sense and kind of their product development line and what they have coming out. Right. Show sponsored by Gamakatsu. I know they've been working on bringing a lot of Japanese stuff over that's been prevalent in Japan for a number of years, but like now there's a demand for it in the American market. You're kind of the guy with Hayabusa. Yeah. Have you noticed a shift, a change, the trends as to the type of hook that is now becoming highly sought after in the States, and like what does that kind of change look like?
Yeah, I feel like, everybody's looking for the next thing, with forward-facing sonar. Obviously, anything, jig head oriented is very popular. We came back out with the FPJ 960, which is a very nice little, ball head jig. Nothing too fancy, but it's got some nice weight on the shank to really kind of balance it out. We are also introducing a couple new products that have been in the works for a couple years. A mid-stroll jig head. It's actually a tungsten jig head for mid-strolling that Daisuke Aoki, former Elite Series angler, maybe one of the first true mid-stroll top 10s at Lake Chickamauga.
I remember that. He was smashing them
on a fluke style bait and doing the mid-stroll, shaky, spinning rod kind of whole deal, and actually catching fish mid-column, mid-water column. And so that's going to be coming through at ICAST. But what we're seeing is all of these different forward-facing sonar style of products fly off the shelves really quick. Retailers can't get enough of them. They just can't get enough. They're still buying the fundamental hooks, the round bends, the EWGs. We actually have 2 new hooks that we're launching. One's called a crossbreed, which is a cross between an EWG and round bend hook. And then we're also launching a narrow gap EWG because finesse seems to be the continued process. It's either real big or real small to me is what I'm seeing a lot of. So we're having a narrow gap 956, which is our medium wire EWG hook, but the hook point is much closer to the bend of the hook, so that if you put a smaller plastic on it, you don't have an EWG hook that's just wrapping way down into the plastic. It's just a smaller gap, so it looks more natural. But so those are a couple things that we're doing that. But the deal with the entire industry, from what I'm hearing, is hard bait sales are down a lot, especially shallow water hard bait sales. Square bills, those types of baits have really fallen off the face of the earth to a degree. I actually had a chat with Ott Defoe about a couple months ago, talking about, which is OG, his Garage series, the Rapala Garage series baits they were doing very, very, very well.
Oh, you couldn't even get them when they first came out. I remember it was like the biggest thing, and everyone was like, why didn't we like it made total sense. You bring back that bait, you put it in the freaking colors, it is done.
Yeah, you got stock everywhere now. Yeah. I'd love that. Cliff Pace would be a great person to talk to with his.
I know. I'm supposed to get him on the show.
He'd be a great conversation. I know he's fishing EQs now as well, right?
He was telling me how much he sucked at the last tournament, and then I'm like, oh, well, Cliff didn't have a good tournament. We're fishing in the same area, saw each other a bunch. He's like, oh, this is just great, isn't it? I mean, like vintage Cliff Pace. And then I look at the damn standings. He's in like the top 25. I was like, oh, must suck at your bad Cliff. Tournaments at top 25.
That's Cliff Pace for you right there.
Holding down 123rd over here. but I'm not bitter about that.
So those are kind of some of the trends that we're seeing. I was fortunate. Actually, I was able to go fish with some guys at Tackle Warehouse before the Lake Havasu event. We went to Mojave about a week and a half ago, and it was great to kind of pick their brain, listen to what they are seeing in the sales perspective, and it's definitely, as we all know, the forward-facing movement.
When did that jig head start to pick up? When was it where it was like, we got a lot of places here that are requesting a jig head?
So really, from a mass standpoint, it was just 18 months ago.
Really?
Yes. Now you've seen this develop through the time, but from a consumer standpoint, people really weren't picking up on it until really last summer is when it really got crazy. And now I think you've seen everybody shift over to wanting to understand this technology even more. I think, I know for a fact early on, when Justin Lucas and Josh Bertrand, I think one of the first real exposures of the new style forward-facing sonar, I think it was Scott Martin back at Lake Cherokee, or not Lake Cherokee, Lake Cumberland, that really initially started.
2017. Yes. Christie also on Lake St. Clair. Actually, I'm going to have Mike McClellan on. Mike McClellan is actually the first person to win a tournament, a major tournament with Panoptics. And over a couple cold pops, he told that story at this media event. And I was like, have you ever told that? And he's like, not in years. And I said, well, you're coming on the show to tell that one. But that was actually before. But yes, I would agree that the Scott Martin at Cumberland was the one where everybody went, whoa.
Yeah, like what? And it wasn't good enough technology where people really absorbed it very well. And it wasn't until, I tell you where I really think the ball flipped is when Bassmaster started their live program with the screen on live, watching the anglers watch what they were doing on the screen. That's when things really flipped. Of course, the Wheeler, Connell, crazy success that they're having with that technology and those style of techniques have infiltrated the MLF fans and the BBT fans to a degree that's far above anything they've ever done, because that's all they freaking do now. I mean, that's all. So I was actually watching the heavy hitters deal, and no slight against those guys, but a little bit tougher to use forward-facing sonar down in Florida. Not as much as the deal, especially with conditions the way they are, the grass growth. You see Coulter jacking them on frogs, and I saw Becker flipping, flipping hydrilla, and some different things going on the last day or so when I was looking at that Of course, Takahiro's throwing a bladed jig. What is Jay Lee doing? He's crushing it too.
He's telling people to stay off his stuff is what Jay Lee's doing. So I just pulled up the Instagram. But yeah, but you do not see a preemptive strike like this very often. And this is what everyone on I've gotten like 10 people that are like, what's going on here? And in my turn, I've asked 10 people what's going on here. And I haven't gotten a straight answer, but 13 hours ago, it's 9:22 now. So it was last night. He posts a picture of him with like a 6-pounder. And then he just says, find your own fish, period. Can't wait to see who's on my holes. #integrity. And then the list.
He must have seen someone idle by the other day. And he's like, oh no.
Then it gets even wilder. Russ Lane jumps on and says, don't worry. Only the dudes that watched live today will be there. And then Brandon Coulter, who's leading Group A, right, by a lot, chimes in and just says truth. I mean, you got,
and they're
Mark
not supposed
Daniels
to, and
Jr.
the anglers are not supposed to watch live.
Correct.
Rules.
Yeah. I mean, this thing blew up on it because I mean, this is Jordan Lee's about as non-controversial as you can get. Yeah. Mark Daniels Jr., Lee Livesey, Rick Harris. We've got everyone. You got Rick Harris. You got guys. You got Tyler's Real Fishing. You got YouTube guys, Alton Jr. You got guys from Duck Dynasty chiming in on this. You got Darian Craig. You've got a iced tea mogul chiming in on it. Darian Craig.
Y'all sweet tea. Shout out to Darian Craig.
Jesse Wiggins. John Hunter. You got Cal Lane. I mean, everybody's in on this thing. And this is just the Instagram since I don't do Facebook. Yeah. But I'm really not sure what's up. I think it might have just been a preemptive strike having an inkling. I mean, I'm sure someone might have done a drive-by or something. Like, is that kind of, you think that was like someone did a drive-by, knew where he was, knew that he was going to make the knockout round, and Jordan just wanted to let him know in a roundabout way, stay off my stuff.
Yeah, or if you're watching live, maybe there's some stuff in the background where you can tell, areas that he's fishing. Somebody just posted, I guess he's frogging.
He's frogging, yeah.
Which is the same thing that Coulter's doing, is frogging.
Which was a big deal because apparently they're the only ones that are frogging, and now everybody's frogging. So the question asked, how does everybody end up getting that memo?
Right. The frogging memo.
We can't have a tournament without something going. Like
Absolutely not.
I feel like all the one bass tournaments have just been clean. And you'll have an occasional clean open.
The difference for Jay Lee this year is he doesn't have to fish the rest of the season with those guys. And now that he doesn't have to, he can just speak his mind. He can just say, hey, look, I've seen this happen in the past. I don't want to see it happen right now.
Yeah, he's on a free roll.
He's on the roll. And he's doing great in the AOI. What's he, second in Bassmaster Elite Series AOI?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're going to Wheeler and Smith for the next two. But then the guys right behind him are the Johnston brothers in like third and fourth. And after Wheeler and Smith, then they go to Champlain and Thousand Islands. So, I mean, who are you putting your money on there? That's a freaking crapshoot, Birdman.
It is a crapshoot. But I don't think the Johnstons are quite as strong at Champlain. That's a little out of their, hardcore guaranteed finishes.
Is it a guarantee that Trey McKinney's going to win this thing in top 10 the last four?
No. I think the smallmouth is going to play. It always shakes stuff up. It always does. Even last year when Welcher won. He was on the verge of collapse at Champlain, and he brought it back in. He reeled it back in on day two. So the Smallies are crazy. You know that. They move. They're constantly moving. The time of year of their going, they're not sticking anywhere for the most part. So it should be, it's going to come down to who's looking at them on the LV62.
I feel like every tournament, every open, I need to just put a veiled threat post out just to stir the pot about.
Hey, How's your fantasy team doing right now? Let's
okay,
talk
I have
about
that right down
bit.
there. I have it written down, fantasy fishing.
Okay.
I think I'm in the top like 94, 95%. Not
Okay,
fantastic, but are you still like number 1 or in 2 in the world?
No. I was killing it. I was in the top 50.
In the world.
In the whole kit and caboodle, yes.
That's the world, the universe. Like, I mean, this thing is the globe, bro.
Okay, my bad.
You got guys in Mumbai picking their fantasy teams.
So yeah, I was in the top 50 in the Earth universe, and I kind of fell off a little bit at Murray.
Who was your bad pick?
It got me. God, I would have to go back and look.
I picked Welcher. It didn't turn out good.
Yeah, I can't remember. Where my
I picked Swindle,
but I'm still in the top 99%.
Okay, you got a chance. You got a chance.
But I can't be screwing up like that again. But I think Wheeler is probably one of the biggest wild cards coming up.
See, I'm going straight rookies at Wheeler because we fished there at almost the same time last year, and a lot of the rookies did really good, and I think they're gonna ease right back there. I mean,
good tip.
The Open was a disaster as far as fishing pressure. But I have personally seen the last time they went to Wheeler in the summer where you idle out of that ramp right there and you look straight in front and you're like, oh, there's a group of 10 boats right in front. And then you turn your head to the left and you look down that ledge and there's 70 in the next mile. Like it's literally spread out one cast apart. And then you can just roll down and get all your photos done for the entire year. That's what we did in like 2008, 2009. You were fishing that tournament, weren't you, Birdman?
Probably. I fished so many, I don't even remember anymore. If it was 08, 09, and it was a Bassmaster Eliter, I was there probably.
You don't remember that? Taco was straight across next to the bin thing. Kennedy was way up on top.
Oh, that was when Taco, he caught him on a topwater on a shell bar.
Just catching awesome fish on a swim bait. Okay, you weren't at that one. Okay.
That was 09.
Yep.
That was 09.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah.
That was the one that I believe it was that same year that Yusuke came in just hot to the ramp early, blew the no wake, yelling, screaming, driving his boat, standing on the seat, like crouched down, driving, bangs it into the dock and starts yelling, snake, snake, snake.
Oh
he had a gigantic snake in his boat.
I remember that. It was down there by the console.
What year was that? Were you at that one? Was that same tournament?
I was not there.
So
the last Wheeler event that I fished from the Elite Series perspective was the Starks and Duckett controversy.
Was that the tornado one where they had the tornado at the weigh-in?
I just remember the Duckett Starks controversy.
That no one has ever talked about that one. The rumor on that one is pretty interesting.
Rumor was Starks, the Duckett's boat, turned on the electronics, got a couple waypoints, and they were roomies.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
And got a couple waypoints.
While Duckett was asleep in the middle of the night.
Showed up at the waypoints together, and Duckett wasn't happy. Starks was like, what do you mean? This is all good. And anyway, controversy continued.
And it was basically right across from the ramp, too, on a shell bar.
Yeah, it was just down the ramp, just down from the ramp. Yep.
So they get all these guys in looking for the snake, and you can see it, and then it goes through like, I can't remember what he had a skeeter.
It goes through like the rigging hole.
It goes through the rigging hole in it. They never found the snake. It never came out. They couldn't locate it. It was somewhere in the boat in the hull. It was a 4+ foot long snake. They never found it. It is 100% still there in that boat somewhere. And like Yusuke is not a snake guy.
No.
So he had to fish the rest of the year knowing that there is a 4.5 foot mystery snake somewhere in his boat that at any point in time might make an appearance.
I'm sure he had to fog the thing out, right? He had to fog it out.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
What else you got, Kurt?
Man, I don't know. Let's see latest stuff. I appreciate the tips on the fantasy fishing deal. I wanted to mention classic pattern at Havasu. I finished third there. Had a couple big fish. Catching big fish in the morning, that was kind of like my thing. That's why I did well. The first 3 hours of the day, I could get a couple big bites throwing a popper. And
that had to be a fun bite.
it was fun.
Flush, swirl, or suck. That could be taken.
All three were going on. All three were going on. Every one of them exhilarating. but the whole deal with that is while I'm fishing, I'm thinking that Krieger and Powers, Craig Powers, Kobe Krieger, I can't remember how much money they won in the 90s fishing the P65 pop
P71.
or P71. Yeah. Or I thought it was a 65. Google that up. P65. No?
It wasn't?
P65?
Okay, there is a P60, a P65.
Magnum, Rebel Magnum Pop R, P65. Yeah,
okay, there's also a P71.
Is there? Was that even, I guess that's even larger?
Yeah.
So,
hold on.
If I remember correctly.
They probably used the 65.
And in the late 90s, those guys won more tournaments in the Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina area post-spawn, fishing that bait under willow tree. This is a great time of year to fish that bait. Right now, go to your local lake. They would flip it underneath these willow trees. They would get it underneath the tree. The fish utilizing the shade. That's exactly what was going on at Havasu, other than it wasn't a willow tree. But there were some trees and stuff that were close to the bank, had deep water nearby, and that was definitively a deal. And I think another key to that was I had to make really long casts. And I even was thinking to myself throughout the year or throughout the event, I was like, dude, I am casting very well this week. I was like, I am just slinging this thing. And it was one of those deals. I was using braided line, so I was slinging it, keeping it close to the water. So when I stopped the bait, it would just, it wasn't like, poosh. It was like,
you were dialed in. Is what you're trying to say.
Dialed on a lot of fronts. And anyway, that was a fun event. I think every person watching BTL right now could probably that lives in the middle belt of the United States, Oklahoma, whatever, Missouri, Arkansas, Virginia, Kentucky, yada yada yada, Carolinas. They could cruise around their local lake right now, pick up a nice size pop bar, maybe the Rio Rico. 65s, I think, hard to get a hold of nowadays. I don't know if they
dude, I just ended up on Yahoo Japan, and I have no idea how I got there. Like, I'm not kidding you.
I know how you got there because you're looking at all these new finesse techniques out there.
Look at this. Look at all those.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean,
that's probably a Keniobe site.
Old Rebel Pop R P65.
Yeah, there you go, man. That was the deal. It had like a little I don't want to say a bead. It wasn't a bead, but it had like a little rattle back in the tail. That was one of the keys to that thing.
I have no idea how
a big yellow magic, a big Rico. Who else makes a big popper? And you could throw a smaller popper, like an IMA finesse popper or a regular size popper. Anyway, it is a freaking deal this time of year. Go to your local lake, find some overhanging trees. The reason the fish are there is, number one, they're either garden fry, they're recovering from post spawn. Those are
eating cicadas.
Yeah, right now over there, yeah, definitely eating cicadas. No cicadas in Arizona, by the way, which is refreshing. But it's just a great path for anglers to use right now. It's a heck of a time.
Bass Edge still rolling. I know you're doing the video thing now.
Yeah, we're doing some special episodes with friend Rich Lindgren, Hella Bass. Actually, I see he just posted right
Oh
here,
yeah, there he is.
talking about the yellow magic, and we had a great show with Ish Monroe, talking about his success this year. Dude, that is one of the busiest guys on the freaking planet. I talked to him while he was at Logan Martin at the last Open event, just after he flew from the West Coast, finishing in third place at Clear Lake. Or actually, he had finished third place at Clear Lake, then went down to the Delta, fished a BAM, Bass Angler Magazine event there on the Delta, and I think he was top 5 down there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was all kinds of stuff. Who else do we have before
Justin
that?
Lucas, Cody Huff.
J. Lou was a fun episode. J. Lou talked about in detail his forward-facing sonar, extravagant bag, his biggest 5 fish limit of all time, there at Santee Cooper. Cody Huff, man, I had Cody on because I felt like he was like, obviously Hamner won the Classic, we all know, but I feel like Cody Huff made some of the best strategic moves in the Classic to keep himself in contention. He talks about those moves, how they developed through the Classic, and that was a lot of fun. So
there is a fill out your form and submit a question. Oh man, there might be some late night questions submitted. I didn't know. I didn't know that this existed right here.
Bring them on. Ask the pro. Ask Panger questions. Get on there. Ask Panger. We'll have Panger on Bass Edge Radio here shortly. That'd be a lot of fun. We can talk about what you think. This would be a good direction for a podcast, Matt. Not but talking about directions for youth anglers. What's the direction?
Oh, I could get fired up on that for about 30 minutes, Kurt, because I am very passionate about a proper way to educate and build a foundation for youth anglers that will positively benefit them as they work towards a career in fishing and not completely screw them up in the head as to what this tournament fishing thing is all about. Because there are a lot of people, a lot of kids between the ages of 8 and 13 and 14 right now that have this thing as backwards as they can about what it's all about. And that's on the parents and the coaches and the organizations for stressing what is important to them at the time versus what is important for a career of enjoyment and success. So yes, that's all. I'll go into it right now. That one will get me fired up, Birdman, like big time fired up. I mean, because I came through the youth organizations that existed at the time, and this was before the tournament thing, but I get the emails, I see the kids, I hear the horror stories, and then I also hear the success stories and the programs that are doing it right, and the coaches that are doing it right, and the kids that have come up through in it right.
Yeah.
But you got to get on the same page and not give them the opportunity to go down the wrong path. Right. Make it easy for them to understand what the focus needs to be on during the integral 10-year period of molding who you are as an angler. An angler who can find, catch, locate bass, learn the rules of engagement, the game, understand where it all fits in it, and not, my God, I can't cast if I don't have a jersey on, and why would I fish if I'm not practicing for a tournament, and how can I slide in on this point where there's 3 other boats because they put 497 boats on this fishery, because yes, I could do that.
That would be fun. I actually got railed. I don't know if you have anybody wants to go look at my Instagram. I didn't have a jersey for the last 2 events because I had some sponsor changes and it's been a busy off season. And I gotta let me real quick give a shout out to these folks right here.
Been with them forever, Birdman. Forever.
Keel guard.
Like they are a longtime supporter of
they are.
Kurt Dove and a number of other anglers in the fishing community.
Absolutely. They're out of Salt Lake City. They do everything right here in a lot of everything right here in the US. Of course, some things come from overseas from a material standpoint, but fantastic company. They support the industry. If megaware.com, go look at them. A lot of you're with Pro Guide lithium batteries, right?
Yes, I'm actually running a Pro Guide lithium starters this year, and trolling motor batteries, and the Pro Guide charging system. So
Nice.
I'm all Pro Guide.
So the Pro Guide, or any kind of lithium battery that so many anglers are moving to now, MegaWare has a product called a battery guard, and basically it is a cushion that sits underneath the battery in the battery tray to absorb shock from obviously boat runs and even trailering your boat. So they're in the forefront of a lot of things. You can look at all their products at megaware.com. If you're running lithiums, you need to look into the battery guard. It's an easy thing to place right in the bottom of your battery tray, and it's going to give you even more longevity for those products that you buy. Like there it is, the battery guard right there. So, yep, there you go.
Oh,
this
cool.
is one that's kind of under the radar. The radar. You can cut it very easily. There's the graph that shows the shock and rattling, you might call, through a system of when you're running your boat. So it really protects those lithiums, keeps you on water, and gives you that I don't even say
there it
peace
is
of mind.
right there.
It gives you what you need to place that.
That's a cool little product.
It is a very cool product, and really needed in the lithium world. I'm not saying that lithiums are temperamental by any means, or that they're well, I will say they're fragile. You know, there's a lot of little batteries in one big battery to make lithium. So they need to be well protected. So thanks for showing that. But big shout out to my folks at Ryan and Tori over there at Mega.
I haven't had a jersey. I've worn a jersey like 4 times ever. Like every time I make a Bass Nation, like every time I made the state team, I had to wear the jersey, and that's it.
Right.
That's the only jersey. Right. Like my whole thing is like when I say, hey, you have to wear a jersey, then I'll wear a jersey. Until then, I'll wear the AFCO, and then I'll safety pin
the Bass sticker.
Yeah, the Pass logo on.
Right. That's awesome. So yeah, it's I appreciate your passion on the kids deal. It made me think about that they have to have a jersey to make a cast. That's why I mentioned that.
And there's nothing wrong with jerseys or anything. The highlight of the pro bass camp that you're doing, 2 at Lake Amistad this year, 1 up in Lake Oneida for the 11th consecutive season.
Yes.
You've come on, you've talked about it a lot.
2011. So 2011 to 2024.
13 years. 14 years.
13. Yeah, 13
you can go back and listen to BTLs. You can listen to Kurt to talk about what that show or what that program is. Sold out, packed house for every single year. You've never not had spots available.
There was a growth process earlier, and I think we're going to take it to another level. Rick Harris is a great friend of mine. I know he's been on the show.
Yep.
He's
sat right across from me here.
Yeah, MLF Invitationals this year, and he's two for 4 right now in check. So he's had a little hiccup there at Eufaula, but he followed his love flipping, and it got him. But anyway, long story short is we're hoping to expand in 2025, and I'm hopeful that Rick continues his passion for the youth as I and you have, and that we can provide some more platforms for youth anglers throughout the state of Texas. And who knows where it is. I am updating the website just so everybody knows. That's going to be coming soon.
Well, it has it on here for the 24, but probasscamp.com if you have an angler, a kid, someone that would like to do it to get in for the 2025 season. This thing is the capital THE premier high-end youth fishing camp, where it is a 2-to-1 student to instructor ratio, where they live, eat, sleep, breathe high-level bass fishing for 5 straight days, that culminates in a youth tournament with cash prizes and product prizes.
Yeah.
The problem you run into right now is everybody immediately signs up for the next year. So you have, because it's the highlight of these kids' summer.
Yeah, it's more than a 60% return rate. I don't know exactly what the return rate is, but it's definitely in that 60+% range. So That's why we want to grow a little bit more. We want to maybe try to do something in East Texas, and we want to keep the stuff here going on in Central and South Texas. So and the New York camp is really going off the chain. A lot of the kids from the South, once they go up north and they experience the smallmouth, they experience summertime weather in the 70s, they're like, oh my God, I love it up here. I need this escape for a week. And so that has become more and more popular as well. So it's, I appreciate that. It's a fun program to put on, and love teaching kids how to fish. And as you said, Matt, there's so much for them to learn. I think there's so many coaches out there that need more information as well to be able to guide youth that are interested in bass fishing correctly throughout the process, because there's a lot of misnomers, I feel like, out there that have been there for 5 or 8 years that need to continue to be taught.
Well said. All right, I'm gonna let you bounce. I'm headed to the Bass Tank to pick up the old cat, the 2024 cat. Take it up. Hey, seriously, I'll take some pictures of it. If you're listening and you're looking to get into the market and get into a bass cat, that one that I just ran for the past year and a half and had
for sale,
0 issues with it. If you're serious and want, contact me, let me know. I'll post some pictures on Instagram, and then I'll put you in touch with the right man. I don't deal with that type of stuff, man. I'm not good with rigging or.
I'll tell you what, that Puma is such an awesome boat. I brought it down here to Del Rio.
I'll enjoy it.
New Puma STS down here in Del Rio, and within 4 weeks, somebody already spoke for it.
Yeah. Like, so it's a Cougar. It's a 2023 Cougar FTD 250, 2 HDS Live 12s, Ultrex, 8-foot poles, ready to roll.
Got the whole package. Pro Guide batteries, I assume.
A lot of finishes between 45th and 70th out of it, so it's an above average boat.
Does it come with a spinning rod and reel?
Yeah, comes with the spitted rod and reel.
Awesome stuff, man. Matt, thank you so much for having me back on BTL. If folks want to check more out about the WAN Bass, which Matt's talked about already once or twice this year on the show, maybe more, but go to wanbass.com, check out the program. They've already announced the 2025 preliminary schedule and dates based on, and there's such a great opportunity for folks interested to go out west and fly in and be a AAA. It's just like, 5 days. Fly in, be a AAA, 3 days, fly home.
It is.
Go experience one of these
phenomenal
awesome lakes. Yeah.
I would do it. I'd be out there fishing them. The opens are like right on top of them this year. It's just one of those deals where I really don't have a desire to go out and fish out west with 0 practice days. That's a great recipe to get your ass kicked.
And also a good way to empty the pocketbook.
Spend a lot of money and go home. So basically like any Vegas trip.
Right. Well, and honestly, Matt, I mean, that's why I'm there. I'm there because I'm at the point now where I'm just picking to choose what I fish. I still want to fish a series, whatever it is. I fished the Toyotas last year. I picked 4 events so I could get in the wild card deal, and had a ton of fun and picked events that I wanted to fish, not just followed a specific circuit or whatever. But when the WAN Bass come out with theirs, I was like, oh, I want to follow that circuit. So I'm just basically picking and choosing what I want to fish now, because I feel like if I'm having fun and I'm wanting to be there because I'm wanting to fish that place, that, it breeds success.
And if you have an off day, you're not like just devastated for the. It's like it doesn't.
I don't want to be at this lake. And with WAN Bass, you fish 3 days. If you're dead ass last, you still fish 3 days of fishing. And
you just have to deal with the very disappointed AAA on the second day.
But that makes it worth the trip because you get to. I mean, it's just fun. Go out, have fun, enjoy the deal. Don't get all wrapped up about every.
I just need a
finish.
DAL shirt.
DAL.
A dead ass last shirt.
Not somewhere you want to be. Not somewhere you want to be. But a lot of us that have fished for a long time have been there before. So
I'll tell you the first time. So I was watching a little bit of the heavy hitters yesterday. There's less than an hour left. And Wheeler was like 4 or 5 pounds below the top 10 cut line.
Right.
I watched him break off a fish out of a brush pile. They're in those 18-foot nitros, I think. So they have to bring their own tackle, but like he didn't bring enough 3/8 ounce weights. He was having a difficult time figuring out what rod he wanted to tie his stuff on. He was stream of consciousness. Like I have never seen Wheeler rattled on the water. And he was genuinely rattled. Like it took him like 7 minutes to get everything like rigged up again. And he's below the cut line with an hour left in an every fish counts format in the heavy hitters. I mean, okay, I don't want to exaggerate. It's not like he was like spun out, but it was not the precision surgical that we're used to with Wheeler, where we're like, all right, now let's tune in with 45 minutes left and watch him crush dreams and break hearts. Like he was genuinely a little bit rattled. Like I'll be interested in talking to him about it, but it was a weird, it's kind of like watching a Tom Brady or someone like not make a game winning drive.
Right.
I never seen it before, to be quite honest.
That's what that can do when you're not in your own equipment and you've got to be ready and adapt. A lot of people don't know that the Bassmaster Classic used to have a limit on tackle and rods. And folks didn't realize that, a lot of folks today don't realize that was part of the game back in the day. And
it's part of it.
Makes things difficult.
Nick, like I've had zero issues with the last two motors on the boat. That was back in 2019 and 2020 that I had that with the shift actuator. So that was 2 boats ago. I had no issues at all with this one. It's a good boat.
Even then, it's just a fix. You just fix it.
It's just a shift actuator.
Under warranty.
All right, guys. Kurt, I'm gonna let you go. Like I said, I know you've been busy. I know you've been traveling.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Watching your journeys out there. You guys seem to be in like a couple, fun days of exploring, little hiking, getting out, seeing some of the stuff out west, and then back in the studio.
You got it, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Good to be here, and we'll see everybody on the flip side. You can catch me on my IG, Kurt Dove Fishing, and yeah, man, we'll be back again.
Can we get a dove call? Can we send it out with the dove call?
I think that you're better at it than I am.
Well, you have to do you do not know how a boarding dove sounds. It goes.
No, it's like a whistle, right? See, I don't do the roll tongue very good. This is gonna get a lot of views.
Roll the tongue. No, top of the mouth.
I'm done.
Have you not ever heard them on the power lines?
Dude, I got them living in my carport.
All right. See you, Birdman.
Later.
All right, that is the one and only Kurt Dove. I am gonna regret that. So it's Kurt. But all right, that's all we got for today. All right, I said I was working on something for tomorrow. I got a guest that I'm really excited about. This dude is a character, a staple of the fishing community. He's been around for a long time. He fishes like 48 regional to national level tournaments a year. Jim Moyna. We're probably going to talk for like 2 hours because I don't know him incredibly well. Like I said, I've been working for like 2-3 months. Well, since the start of the open season, he pulled up. I was like, dude, we got to get you on BTL. He's like, yeah, I'm in. And then every time I call him, he's like, oh, I'm practicing for this Toyota. I'm practicing for this deal. I'm practicing for... I'm like, do you ever not fish? That's all he does is fish. And he's got a bunch of great stories. Go back to maybe some old Fujifilm days, some of the FLW days. He's like the father of the football jig up in Minnesota is what I'm hearing. He's pioneered a lot of techniques, and the dude is just a massive fish head. So Jim Moyna tomorrow. Big shout out to Kurt Dove for jumping on. That's all we got. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.